employment outcomes? And last but not the least, how can we learn from the non-profit sector to transition what works into scale and investable digital platforms, not only for education, but also for livelihoods and networking? I believe that this online roundtable today comes at a very opportune time, and our mode of meeting today couldn't be more appropriate. For example, I'm joining you from Delhi. My colleagues are joining in from Mumbai. Some of the children are joining in from elsewhere. But that's what the digital world has made us more networked. For everyone present here today, let's pledge our unwavering support to ensure that each and every young girl around the world has equitable access to digital opportunities and online services that are safe, protect their rights, and empower them. Thank you, Sandhya.
Thank you, Ms. Chandrasekhar. I now invite our panelists consisting of child and youth advocates and respected consuls of Sweden, Belgium, Japan, Switzerland, and Canada present here with us today. Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Mamberg, Consul of Sweden in Mumbai. We have a young guest, Praveen Prakash Pandey from Nehru Yuva Kendra, Hingoli, Maharashtra. I request Praveen to share his thoughts with us.
Okay. Are my audibles? माझा आवाज येतोय सर्वांना?
Yes, Praveen, you are audible.
Yes. नमस्ते सर्वांना. मी महाराष्ट्रातील हिंगोली जिल्ह्यातील भिंगे या गावचा. संपूर्ण देशातील जेव्हा शिक्षण व्यवस्था बंद पडली होती, अशा परिस्थितीमध्ये मी माझ्या गावामध्ये जे काही 10वीतले जे काही मुलं होते किंवा जे काही मुलं होते, या मुलांना मी कशा पद्धतीने शिकवलं, त्याचा जो काही अनुभव आहे, हा अनुभव मी तुमच्या समोर शेअर करतो. ज्यावेळेस मी कोविड-19च्या पिरियडमध्ये मी गावाकडे गेलो आणि गावाकडे गेल्यानंतर आमच्या गल्लीमध्ये एक मुलगी आपल्या वडिलांसोबत भांडत होती, कारण की त्या मुलीला, ती जी काही मुलगी आहे, ही मुलगी, त्या मुलीला शिक्षणासाठी मोबाईल हवा होता आणि ती मुलगी आपल्या वडिलांना मोबाईल मागत होती, कारण की त्या मुलींचं 10वीचं वर्ष अत्यंत फार महत्वाचं होतं. कारण की एकदा 10वीचा मुलगा नापास झाला की म्हणजे संपूर्ण वर्ष असं त्यांचं मिस होतं. आणि त्यामुळे ती जी काही मुलगी आहे, ही मुलगी आपल्या वडिलांना मोबाईलसाठी पैसे मागत होती, मोबाईल मागत होती. मला मोबाईल घेऊन द्या, माझ्या शाळेचे जे काही ऑनलाईन लेक्चर आहेत, हे ऑनलाईन लेक्चर माझे बंद पडत आहेत. त्यावेळेस ह्या आमच्या गोष्टी या कानी ऐकू आल्या आणि आम्ही त्यांच्या घरी गेलो आणि घरी गेल्यानंतर आम्ही त्यांना म्हणलं की काय झालं काका? तर मग ते म्हणत होते की मला मोबाईल मागत आहे की ऑनलाईन शिकण्यासाठी. सध्या मी कुठे देऊ घेऊन, कारण की सध्या परिस्थिती नाही, माझ्याकडे पैसे उपलब्ध नाही. तर मग आम्ही त्यांना थोडासा धीर दिला. आम्ही त्यांना म्हटलं की तुम्ही काहीही चिंता करू नका, आम्ही तुमच्या सोबत आहोत. आणि ही गोष्ट आमच्या मनावर भेटली आणि तेव्हाच आम्ही ठरवलं की गावातील सर्व मुलांसाठी आपण फ्री ऑफ एज्युकेशन चालू करायचं. एकही रुपया न घेता फ्री ऑफ एज्युकेशन आपण स्टार्ट करायचं. आणि मग तेव्हापासून आम्ही 10वीच्या मुलांसाठी, खास करून 10वीचं वर्ष अत्यंत महत्वाचं असतं आणि 10वीच्या मुलांसाठी आम्ही एज्युकेशन चालू केलं. मग सर्व गावातील जे काही मुली आहेत किंवा गावातील जे काही मुलं आहेत, ही अशी मिळून आमची 21 मुलांची बॅच तयार झाली 10वीच्या मुलांची. आणि मी माझ्या स्वतःच्या घरी फळा बसविला आणि त्या मुलांना मी शिकवण्याचा प्रयत्न चालू केला. मी, त्याचबरोबर माझा भाऊ आणि माझे जे काही मित्र होते, त्या सगळ्यांनी मिळून गावातील प्रत्येकाने आम्हाला सपोर्ट केला आणि गावातील सर्वजण तिथे शिकायला लागले. आणि असे करत करत 9वीचे मुलं यायला लागले, 8वीचे मुलं यायला लागले. संपूर्ण गावातील संपूर्ण जी काही मुलं आहेत, हे मुलं यायला लागले. म्हणजे 1ली पासून ते 12वी पर्यंत अख्खच्या जे काही मुलं आहेत, हे मुलं माझ्या घरी शिकायला लागले. आणि यामध्ये माझा फक्त एकट्याचाच हात नव्हता, तर याच्यामध्ये माझ्या एकट्याचे परिश्रम नव्हते, तर माझ्या सोबत अनेक काही मित्र होते जे की त्यांनी बीएससी केलेला आहे, एमएससी केलेला आहे, त्याचबरोबर चांगले एज्युकेशन आहे, ते बीएचएमएस करतात. त्या सगळ्यांनी सपोर्ट केला आणि आम्ही त्यांना ठरवलं की आपण गावातल्या सर्वांना मुलांना आपण काय करूया, सर्वजण शिकूया, हे म्हणजे फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट मध्ये, एकही रुपया न घेता. आणि मग असं करत आम्ही सर्व मुलांना शिकवण्याचा प्रयत्न चालू केला. असं करत ही जी काही बातमी आहे, ही बातमी अन्य गावांना पोहोचली. जी काही माझ्या गावाच्या बाजूला असलेले गाव बोंडाळा, आंबाळा, त्याचबरोबर आडगाव, या सर्व गावातील मुलांना ही बातमी कळाली आणि त्या आजूबाजूच्या गावातली मुलं सुद्धा पण माझ्या गावामध्ये शिकायला यायला लागले. आणि मग अशा परिस्थितीमध्ये खूप चांगल्या पद्धतीने त्यांना शिकायला वळण लागलं. त्यांच्यासोबत आम्ही एज्युकेशन सोबत त्यांच्या फिजिकलवर आम्ही सुद्धा पण फिजिकल सुद्धा पण आम्ही टेस्ट घ्यायला लागलो, त्यांची आरोग्यावर सुद्धा पण आम्ही कशा पद्धतीने आरोग्य कोविडच्या काळामध्ये जपायचं, त्याचबरोबर त्यामध्ये त्या मुलांच्या शिकवण्याच्या माध्यमातून आम्ही त्यांना सांगायला लागलो की सॅनिटायझरचा वापर करणे, मास्क यूज करणे, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी आम्ही त्यांना सांगायला लागलो. आणि मग असं करत करत खूप चांगल्या पद्धतीने आमचा हा जो काही शिकवण्याचा जो काही उपक्रम आहे, हा उपक्रम चालू लागला. गावातील जे सुशिक्षित मुलं होते, हे मुलं सुद्धा पण शिकायला म्हणजे शिकवण्यासाठी येत गेले. त्याचबरोबर काही मुलींनी सुद्धा पण शिकवायला सुरुवात केली, काही मुली सुद्धा पण शिकवत गेल्या. असं करत करत ज्यावेळेस 10वीच्या परीक्षा म्हणजे 10वीच्या परीक्षेचा टाइम टेबल तयार झाला आणि विशेषतः महाराष्ट्रामध्ये, तर आणि मग असं ठरलं की 10वीच्या मुलांच्या परीक्षा होणार हे डिक्लेअर झालं. परंतु काही कारणास्तव ज्या काही परीक्षा येतं, ह्या परीक्षा म्हणजे घेण्यात आल्या नाही काही कारणास्तव. आणि त्यामुळं माझ्या गावातील जे काही मुलं येतं, हे मुलं फार म्हणजे म्हणजे त्यांना खूप म्हणजे ते नाराज झाले. कारण की वर्षभर त्यांच्या डोळ्यातून अश्रू यायला लागले, कारण की वर्षभर त्यांनी मेहनत घेतली होती आणि वर्षभर मेहनत घेतलेली कुठेतरी म्हणजे त्यांना त्याचं काहीतरी मिळालंच नाही, फळ त्यांना काही मिळालं नाही. आणि मग त्यांनी त्यांच्या डोळ्यातून अश्रू यायला लागले. काही जणांनी तर जेवण केलं नाही. तर त्यांना असं वाटत होतं की आता आमचं काय सर्व म्हणजे आमच्याकडून आता काही झालंच नाही, आम्ही वर्षभर मेहनत केली आणि आम्हाला काही साध्यच नाही झालं. कारण की त्यांची आम्ही एवढी पद्धतीने चांगल्या पद्धतीने तयारी करून घेतली होती की त्यांना वाटत होतं की आमचं काहीतरी साध्य झालं पाहिजे, आम्हाला एक संधी मिळाली होती की आमचं स्वतःचं नाव मोठं करण्यासाठी. आणि म्हणून त्यांना या एक्झाम कॅन्सल झाल्या, त्यांना वाटतं आता आमचं सर्व काही केलं. परंतु आम्ही त्यांना समजून सांगितलं की तुम्ही रडू वगैरे नका, तुम्ही थोडासा धीर दिला आम्ही त्यांना समजावून सांगितलं. तर याचा एक परिणाम असा झाला की गावातील ज्या काही 10वीच्या काही ज्या मुली आहेत, असं आमच्या गावामध्ये एक प्रथा आहे, म्हणजे आमच्या गावामध्ये असं असतं की 10वी झाल्यानंतर मुलींचे लग्न केले जातात खरं तर. आणि मग त्यांच्या समोर नंतर त्यांच्या आरोग्याचा प्रश्न संभावतो, अनेक प्रश्न यायला लागतात. कारण की 16 वर्षी जर मुलींचं जर लग्न झालं तर असे अनेक प्रश्न उद्भवतात. आणि त्यामुळे हे कुठेतरी थांबलं. आज माझ्या गावामध्ये पहिल्यांदा असं घडलं की 10वीतल्या ज्या काही मुली आहेत, ह्या 10वीतल्या मुलींनी 11वी ऍडमिशन घेतलं आणि त्या खूप चांगल्या पद्धतीने शिकत आहेत. हे आज आम्हाला कुठेतरी चांगलं वाटतं, कारण की त्यांनी जे काही शिक्षण घेतलेलं आहे, हे शिक्षण 11वी प्रवेशासाठी घेतलं. आज ते त्यांच्या वडिलांना म्हणतात की बापू आम्हाला शिकू दे, आम्ही खूप चांगल्या पद्धतीने मार्क घेतलेले आहेत. आणि म्हणून ते आज 11वी ऍडमिशन घेतले त्यांनी आणि ते खूप चांगल्या पद्धतीने शिकत आहेत. आणि हेच आम्हाला याच्यामधून साध्य झालं असं मी समजतो. तर सरांना माझा प्रश्न आहे, इरिक मेंबर्स, कॉन्सल्स अँड डेप्युटी हेड ऑफ मिशन्स कॉन्सल जनरल्स ऑफ स्वीडन इन मुंबई, सरांना माझा असा प्रश्न आहे की डिजिटल प्लॅटफॉर्मद्वारे मुलींसाठी शालेय शिक्षण आणि कौशल्य जोडण्यासाठी आपल्या देशाने कोणती पावले उचलली आहेत हे जाणून घेण्यात मला आवडेल. तर सरांना अशी मी विनंती करतो की त्यांनी आपल्या देशामध्ये कशा पद्धतीने पावले उचलली आहेत याबद्दल सांगावेत. धन्यवाद सर. धन्यवाद मॅडम. धन्यवाद सर. थँक्यू.
Mathli, can I request you to please translate for us?
Sure, thank you. So Praveen was narrating how he came back to his village during the lockdown, and he witnessed an argument between a father and a daughter. The daughter was asking the father for a mobile phone for her online classes, and her father refused because he didn't have the means to provide. And this triggered a thought process. So between Praveen and his brother and his friends, that there would be several such children in the village who did not have access to online learning, for which he began a school, or he began classes inside his home. And he invited all the 10th standard students. 10th standard, as you know, is an important year for students. And gradually other children joined. So not only from his village, but from other villages. So he had students from the 1st grade to the 12th grade. And they studied throughout the year at his house. And in fact, he says that when the 10th standard examinations were cancelled, the government had to cancel them because of the ongoing COVID pandemic. The children actually cried because especially for the girls, they felt that this is their only opportunity to show their parents that they were capable and that they wanted to study further. What he's saying is a success of what he has done and his friends have done is that for the first time in his village, girls have actually got themselves admitted to grade 11 because the usual picture is that these girls get married off soon after the 10th standard. So that is what he says is a success. He also has a question for you, sir. He's saying, it would be interesting to know what steps your country has taken to link schooling and skills for girls through digital platforms. Over to you.
Sir, I invite you to please address this question.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. And first of all, I really want to commend on this work, Praveen. It's impressive to hear, and I'm happy to hear about the success that it brought forward. That's a very initiative to praise. So it's very happy to hear that. Regarding digital platforms, I would say it's interesting to put it. I noticed how you described the school as this kind of place. I mean, where they cried when they couldn't be there, because the school is such a special place. That is what the Swedish philosophy is that yes, the school should be that place, to be the safe place basically for children. The interesting part in this one is that, and worth noting, is that the Swedish schools actually during the pandemic, at least from kindergarten to 9th grade, have stayed open during the whole scope of the pandemic. The reason for this is that the government, together with National Board of Health, had, based on statistics, based on evidence-based research, they have compared the negative effects that closed schools in a long time perspective can lead to the students, both in the loss of knowledge, but also to their long-term health. And also considering that the school could be a kind of a safe place, as you kind of described for these women, for children who doesn't have that kind of safety or stability in their usual in a normal life, where they are vulnerable or they have limited possibilities. The school could be the place to provide them with these possibilities. So that has been the philosophy. So therefore, if I to speak with skills through digital platforms during the pandemic, for example, the focus has, on the other hand, been to keeping the schools open as much as possible. However, of course, if you look at general in the schools, I mean, the focus on digital literacy is a major topic, and also to make students aware of both the possibilities, but also the safety regarding the digital platforms used both in school but at home. And speaking further regarding the schools and the possibilities for children, I mean, you need to say that gender equality is one of the cornerstones of in both domestic and foreign policies of Swedish society, and that especially regards to education. We believe that everyone should enjoy the same opportunities, rights, and obligations, all areas of life, regardless of gender, and not being subjected to violence. And also, really want to support and increase the visibility of girls around the world who are standing up against outdated traditions, norms, and laws, such as girls being left out of school, for example, regarding to some beliefs that they don't belong there. And since 1998, actually, we have had a gender-neutral approach for our children in schools, and which have required the Swedish schools to promote gender-neutral policies and teaching styles to treat girls and boys very much equally, to give them access to all the facilities and skills training, be it physical or digital. All the possibilities should be the same, both for girls and boys in school. And looking at the further spectrum, if you look, for example, in regarding science, technology, engineering, and medicine, where we see, and we have talked about this, kind of a lack of representation in many areas regarding women, we've taken steps to lead, to proactively encourage girls and young women in Sweden and abroad, also across cultures, to take up this science, and done a number of initiatives to to offer the environments to girls. One is the Tekla initiative, where they, for example, test and create with technology together with female role models, different kinds of this kind of science and work with these kind of sciences. In India, that has also been different workshops. And basically, the Swedish policy is to ensure that all children, including girls, can attend school, and to very strengthen the education system around the world, and also ensuring that children living in poverty and other vulnerable situations, particularly girls, complete their quality education without discrimination. And gender equality in education strengthens quality. It provides an appropriate learning environment for both the girls and boys, and ensures the students leaving the secondary school have an awareness of gender equality. And the digital age has created vast new possibilities in this area. So with that words, I really want to thank you for your work, because that is very much fulfilling these kinds of ideas that we so much encourage. So very much thank you for that.
Thank you, sir and Praveen, for sharing such good initiatives and just wonderful ideas you all have shared. I now invite Brusselman's Pierre Emmanuel, Consul General from Consulate General of Kingdom of Belgium. We have a child guest as well. I invite Mahi Prakash from Gadchiroli. Now I invite Mahi to share her experience and ask her question to Mr. Brusselmans.
गुड आफ्टरनून वन अँड ऑल. जेव्हा कोरोना आपल्याकडे आला त्यानंतर मार्च 2019ला सर्वीकडे लॉकडाऊन लागले. आमच्या शाळा बंद झाल्या. मग आमच्या समोर शिक्षणाचा खूप मोठा प्रश्न निर्माण झाला. शाळा नाही तर मग शिकायचं कसं? आमच्याकडे मोबाईल नाही, मग कधी त्यात रिचार्ज नाही. अशा वेळेस आमच्या शिक्षकांनी आम्हाला प्रत्येकाला घरी घरी येऊन शिक्षण देणे चालू केले. मास्क, सॅनिटायझर याचा योग्य वापर करून, कोरोनाचे नियम पाळून त्यांनी आम्हाला शिक्षण दिले. यामध्ये कधी आमचे गट करून शिक्षण दिले, तर कधी आमच्या प्रत्येकाच्या घरी जाऊन वैयक्तिक मार्गदर्शन केले. सर, हे माझे वैयक्तिक अनुभव आहे. याचप्रमाणे सर, आय हॅव क्वेश्चन टू यू. तुमच्या देशांनी मुलांचे शिक्षण सुरू ठेवण्यासाठी कोविड पॅन्डेमिक मध्ये काय काय केले? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mahi. Mathli, can you please translate for us?
Sure. So Mahi says that when her schools closed down in March 2020, they had a question before them because they did not have phones for online learning, and those who had phones didn't have the money to recharge their phones. So what the teachers did is they visited the children at their homes, and they either made groups, so there were peer groups that were formed, and they studied with each other, or then the teachers would visit them and individually transacted the learning material. Also, she has a question, and she's saying that what are the steps that your country has taken during the pandemic to ensure that learning continues? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for this beautiful testimony, and I would also like to take the occasion to actually congratulate all the teachers in India, which have done their utmost best to try to go to the schools and indeed to allow students to continue to study if they had no access to mobile phones or computers. Now, the view in Belgium is that children and youth should have a high priority to lead a normal life, as normal as possible, because the disease we know is going to last all around the world. So as the children are the least, let's say, suffering or having that's the lowest burden of the disease, we also believe that they should have the lowest burden of the measures taken to fight the disease. So that's why in Belgium, like also in Sweden, the schools have gradually reopened from the middle of the month of May 2020. So only a few weeks after the lockdown, there was a choice to actually reopen all the schools and to allow the education of the kids, especially of the youngest one, as soon as possible because we consider it's the highest priority to resume classes, and that it would help to maintain our children's social and also psychological well-being. So prioritization education and the recovery is as crucial as the economic recovery. And I invite, of course, all countries to take a good look at their own policy towards the education of their children and youth in the light of the current situation. Now, here in India, the Consul General of Belgium in Mumbai was proud to support Akshara in helping about 100 girl students with their school and college fees, and also with communication cards to be able to follow school. Because, of course, in Belgium, access to computers and to digital technology is maybe much more widespread. So for the few weeks that there was online schooling, all kids were able to follow, but then Belgium chose to actually go back to the in school in class, which we still believe is by far the best solution for kids, and we would advise all countries to follow the same path. Now, we all know that around the world, girls are suffering and encountering many barriers, and so we believe that even specifically for girls, we have to fight even more to give them access to education, to healthcare, and also, of course, to avoid child marriages and be well educated. So that's what we believe is really important. But now I would like to give back the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to invite Maithili Didi to translate it into Marathi, because we have few friends who are more comfortable in Marathi.
Sure. Can I also do that for Praveen's question, Sandhya, if I'm allowed to?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
ओके सो पहिला जो प्रवीण तुमचा प्रश्न होता सरांना, तर एकतर त्यांनी तुम्हाला अभिनंदन केलं आणि सांगितलं की ते त्यांना खूप खुशी होते की तुम्ही जे एफर्ट्स घेतले ते ऐकण्यामध्ये. त्यांच्या देशात शाळा बंद झाल्या नव्हत्या. त्यांनी सांगितलं की जे हेल्थचं जे एव्हिडन्स होते त्यांच्याकडे की मुलांना तेवढं अफेक्ट मे बी इम्पॅक्ट एवढा होत नाही म्हणून, तर सर्व शाळा ओपन होत्या. आणि त्यांचं एक बिलीफ आहे त्यांच्या देशामध्ये की शाळा एक अशी जागा आहे जिथे मुलं सुरक्षित असतात, तर ती खूप लास्ट म्हणजे करायचीच असेल तर लास्ट क्लोज करायची. पण तसं जसं ते म्हणाले ते झालं नाही. त्यांच्या शाळेमध्ये डिजिटल लिटरसीवर भर असतो, फोकस असतो, आणि डिजिटल लिटरसी बरोबर सुरक्षित कसं राहायचं, ऑनलाईन सेफ्टी जे आपण म्हणतो त्याच्याबद्दल पण मुलांना ओरिएंट करतात. त्यांची दुसरी पॉलिसी जी शिक्षणामध्ये पण आहे की जेंडर इक्वॉलिटी किंवा आपण जे लिंग समानता बोलतो की सर्वांना इक्वल अपॉर्च्युनिटी, म्हणजे सर्वांना सुविधा तसेच मिळाले पाहिजेत, आणि त्याच्यावर खूप फोकसनी ते काम करतात, मुलं असो किंवा मुली, इन्क्लुडिंग त्यांच्या सायन्स, टेक्नॉलॉजी, मेडिसिनच्या फील्ड्समध्ये पण ते त्याच फिलॉसॉफीनी काम करतात. आणि परत त्यांनी तेच सांगितलं की भेदभाव न करता त्यांच्या शाळेमध्ये किंवा त्यांच्या समाजामध्ये तशी पॉलिसी आहे, तर जेंडर इक्वॉलिटी आणि त्याच्यावर फोकस करून ते आता काम करतात. तर ते प्रवीणचा जो क्वेश्चन होता ते स्किलिंगचा, ते म्हणाले की आता पॅन्डेमिकच्या काळी मोर त्यांचं जे शाळा चालू होती आणि शिक्षणावर फोकस होता. माहीचा जो प्रश्न होता तर त्याच्यामध्ये बेल्जियमचे जे आहेत तर त्यांनी परत सांगितलं, त्यांनी इनफॅक्ट सुरुवातीला सांगितलं की ते सर्व टीचर्सचं अभिनंदन करतायत की टीचर्सनी एवढी मेहनत घेतली आहे माहीसारख्या मुलांपर्यंत पोहोचायला, आणि त्यांच्याकडे पण हायेस्ट प्रायोरिटी दिलेली की मुलांचं शिक्षण कंटिन्यू करण्यासाठी. थोडे मला वाटतं आठवडे ते म्हणाले शाळा बंद होती, पण त्याच्यानंतर सर्व शाळा त्यांनी चॉईस दिलेला रिओपन करण्यासाठी, कारण जसं ते म्हणाले की लोएस्ट बर्डन आहे, म्हणजे जास्ती कमी इफेक्ट होतो कोविडचा, पण जास्ती इफेक्ट होतो एज्युकेशनचा, म्हणून ते कंटिन्यू ठेवायला. आणि ऑल्सो त्यांनी सांगितलं सोशल आणि सायकोलॉजिकल जे इम्पॅक्ट होतं तर ते नेगेटिव्ह इम्पॅक्ट न व्हायला त्यांनी शाळा ओपन ठेवलेल्या. मुंबईमध्ये बेल्जियमचे ज्यांचं काउन्सिलेट आहे त्यांनी अक्षराच्या संस्थे बरोबर 100 मुलींच्या एज्युकेशन कंटिन्युएशनसाठी मदत केलेली आहे. आणि ते हे पण म्हणतात की बेल्जियममध्ये ऑनलाईन एज्युकेशन जितक्या काळी होतं तर कारण भरपूर त्यांच्याकडे सुविधा आहेत, तर तसं काही प्रॉब्लेम आला नाही. सो थोडक्यात संध्या, दिस इज व्हॉट सर सेड. सो ओव्हर टू यू अगेन.
या, Thank you so much. Now I think all of us have some idea and there is no, communication gap because Didi is there to help us. And now I invite our next speaker, Mr. Fukahori Yasutata, Consul General of Japan in Mumbai. It is a great pleasure to have you, sir, with us today. Our next speaker is Suman from Dharavi Diaries. Over to you, Suman.
Good evening, everyone. I will start with myself. I am doing Bachelor's of Arts from SIS College. I born in Dharavi, Mumbai. I'm the first generation of my family who is going to college. I live in slum area. I belong from lower middle class family. In my family, my mother is a housewife. My father is a carpenter and he is the only earner in my family. I have two younger brothers and one elder sister. We stay in a rented house. I studied in private tuition till class 8. After that, there was some financial issue in my family, so I stopped going to private tuition. Then one of my friend told me about Dharavi Diary. It's a NGO. I joined Dharavi Diary in 2015. Here I got so many facilities like tab, laptops, teachers for different subjects. I learned a lot of software like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, MS Office, etc. Dharavidari and Navni sir helped us for study purpose. In this pandemic, my father lost his job. Then Dharavi Diary paid my college fees and provided me with a smartphone for online lectures. With the help of this center, I am doing my education as and teaching their small kids like first, second, third grade students. With that, I'm planning for my future goal as well. Sir, I would like to ask you a question. My question is, how has your country addressed the digital divide to reach social economical disadvantaged children? Thank you.
Okay, can I start talking?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I sincerely wish that a young, bright student as you can be a wonderful teacher in the future. So I wish you all the success in you and your future. Your question about digital divide in Japan is actually viewed in a different angle. In Japan, there's no digital divide between both. So that the digital divide in Japan is used for the difference between older people and young people. And the young people, all children, including girls, can use this new technology without any problem. So I understand that in India, this digital divide is not actually gender issue, but I guess that that's what we can do to this issue is that we are extending economic cooperation in many countries, including India. Our organization called JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, is providing many types of technical cooperation, including to address the issue of gender issues. So we are distributing equipments for the education to address the gender issue and other issues to many schools in India. So that's what we can do to do the digital divide in India. Since that the India-Japan relation is getting stronger and closer, we are expanding and then strengthening our cooperation, economic cooperation toward India. I hope that we could implement many more projects to alleviate the digital divide and poverty in India. Just for information, that Japan's ODA, economic cooperation is based on the rules, not like those from China. As other members in this panel from OECD member countries can understand that all of our economic cooperation is based on rule of law. And then it is extended to the people, not to the government. Just like my colleague in this panel, Sweden, Switzerland, and Belgium, and all other European countries, and the USA, Australia as well, we're extending support to help people, not to the government. Supports what they would like to do, not actually from the view of supporting people, but that's the difference between that's the difference in OECD member country like us. That's one point. And then I have this question that what is your message to young girls on this International Girls Child Day? I'd like to mention that be confident to all girls that there's nothing that you can't do which boys can do intellectually. There's no difference in ability between boys and girls at all. That's for sure. I hold a PhD in environmental economics, and then I acquired a master degree in environmental science, and then half of environmental science is actually biology. So I study profoundly about biology. From the biological point of view, there's no difference between men and women. But what I can say is that default form of life is actually women. When we are conceived, all of us actually women. When the embryo grow into fetus, some of us like men, me, are forced to change the gender from female to male, so that biologically speaking, that the female is complete biologically, while men are incomplete biologically. So in that sense, the biologically speaking, we can say that technically speaking, the female is superior to men. But in our life, in the past long history, women have been discriminated against men. That's only because girls, women were smaller than men. That's the only reason. Physically speaking, that women are weaker than men in the history of human life. That's why that there is some discrimination left in today's society. So even though there's a physical difference, in intellectually speaking, there's no difference at all. As I said first, that there's nothing which women cannot do, which men can do. So be confident. If you want to be a teacher, you can be a very good teacher. And then one thing I would like to mention is about religion. Religion can actually cause many discrimination against, between religion and then also against women. But all those religions are made thousands of years ago. So Japan used to be a very religious country based on Buddhism and Shintoism, but now we are free from religion. Religion is still very, very important as a culture. But when it comes to the difference between religious value and modern value, like fundamental human rights or rule of law, it is necessary for us to prioritize the modern value against the religious value. That should be the same in India as well. I have read many stories about wonderful Hindu religions in India, including Mahabharata, Ramayana. I even read many poems there. They are wonderful. And then, can you hear me?
Sir, your voice was lagging a little bit, but now we can hear you.
Okay, yes, I was talking about religion. I said that I have read many stories, like Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata. If you know that Upadesha Suhasripa Shankara, which was very great philosophical teaching in India. Even though those stories are really great, but there's some aspect about the discrimination against the women on those documents. But that's for same for Buddhism, Christianity, and Islamic religions as well. But as I said first, that when it comes down to the difference between religion and modern values should come first. Still, religion is important, and then I have a full respect to all religions, including the Hinduism and the Islamic religion as well. But please keep in your mind that modern values are very important. All those religious documents are written long time ago, so that even though religion is very important still nowadays to support the spiritual life of a human, but when it comes to the values, you should respect modern values. And then our society, international society, is actually moving in that direction. In India is no difference. So in the coming years, that those modern values will be more respected than all the religious values, even though we still hold full respect to religion. That's all for me. Once again, be confident in your ability. You can do anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. There's so much we can learn from all of us. And our next, I would like to invite our next speaker, Miss Amanda Strohan, Deputy High Commissioner of Canada to India. And our next child speaker is Shraddha. She is currently part of Children's Parliament, 9 is Mine.
Hello everyone. During the pandemic, schools were closed. Indian government in June 2020 started teaching online, but majority of students didn't have access to attend. I also had to go through many challenges. In my family, we have 5 siblings and 3 of them have phones. We used to have our classes at the same time. So sharing phone was difficult to us. Fortunately, I was part of 9 is Mine. They provided me a tab so I can attend the lecture. 9 is Mine have provided many children like me. Children are facing many more challenges and struggles to be it online or offline classes. Now I would like to ask one question to Miss Amanda. What efforts are being made towards the gender equality and equity for digital access in your country? Thank you.
Thank you, Shraddha, for your question. And I would like to say, first of all, congratulations to you for your perseverance through the pandemic to continue with your education, with your studies, in spite of all of these challenges. We know how difficult it's been, and I really would like to commend you for your commitment to your studies, which is really very inspiring. And it's a real pleasure and an honor to be with you all today for this roundtable. So you've asked what we're doing in Canada on gender equality and digital equity. So let me say a couple of things at the outset. First of all, in Canada, we use an approach called Gender-Based Analysis Plus, or GBA Plus, which is an approach to all of our activities across the Government of Canada to consider how gender affects our programming. So what are the considerations of how the things that we do across government affect the genders differently? We recognize that the pandemic has impacted women and girls in a different way to how it has affected men and boys. And so this has really been the foundation of our response to the pandemic. We also recognize that digital technology and the internet have the potential to advance gender equality if they're able to empower women and to elevate the voices of women and girls. So if the internet can connect women and girls to social, political, and economic opportunities, it can serve as an excellent tool for good and for gender equality. So when we're talking about digital inclusion, we're not just talking about basic connectivity, although we've talked about that today, and it is so important. We've talked about the gender user gap on the internet and access to technology, but we're also talking about other things. So beyond access to connectivity, we're also talking about things like digital literacy, making sure that women and girls have also the equal access to digital literacy. We're talking about online spaces that are conducive to civic participation. And we're talking about online safety, which is such a unique consideration for women and girls that others have mentioned today as well. So these things are the basis for what we call a rights-based framework in Canada for advancing gender equality, particularly as the world is more and more digitized. So we're working to broaden the inclusion, the digital inclusion of women and girls, as well as other groups that are facing gender discrimination in Canada and abroad. So let me share with you a couple of specific initiatives that Canada is undertaking in the digital sphere. We have something that's called the Digital Citizen Initiative, and the goal of this initiative is to make citizens more resilient against online disinformation. So helping governments and helping citizens better understand disinformation online and also better understand the impacts of disinformation online. Another initiative that we have is called the Digital Charter, which has as its objective to build trust in a digitized world, in a digitized environment. And it really is looking to update some of our laws, the consumer laws and the privacy laws that were built for a world before the rapid evolution of technology that we've seen over the last couple of decades. And specifically in the international sphere, Canada has developed, the Foreign Ministry has developed what we call a Playbook for Gender Equality in the Digital Age. And this product is a guidebook for best practices to support gender equality in a digital context. And it's intended to be used by government officials, by lawmakers, by educators, by NGOs, anybody who's working in the field of technology and gender equality. A couple of other initiatives specifically on the gender side that Canada is involved in. We're leading the G7's rapid response mechanism, which is considering how gender-based disinformation is being used for foreign interference. So back to this question of disinformation, which is so prevalent today. We also co-champion the UN Secretary General's Roundtable on Digital Inclusion, and that has as its objective to develop a universal digital inclusion framework that respects gender equality. We're also supporting the Freedom Online Coalition's joint statement on digital inclusion, and we're calling for efforts to address online violence and discrimination against women and girls. So we're really going back to that online safety, safe spaces online for women and girls. And finally, we are proud to also be co-leading the Feminist Movements and Leadership Action Coalition. I'd also like to say that Canada's feminist approach is not just for women and girls. In fact, the Canadian approach recognizes that in order for us to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls, it's really important for us to also partner and engage with men and boys as stakeholders, because unequal power relations and harmful gender norms are bad for women. They limit opportunities for women and girls, but they are also bad for men and boys. They restrict men and boys to specific roles. And so we really consider it important to partner with men and women and with girls and boys to transform these unequal power relationships in order to realize all of the benefits of gender equality, particularly in the digital realm. Here in India, we have been trying to incorporate these efforts at our diplomatic missions as well. So, for example, last year in Delhi at our High Commission, we worked with Plan India and with Social Media Matters to organize a social media workshop where we empowered 15 young change makers from across India to break through the digital divide and then to take what they had learned and go back to their communities and to share that with other girls in their communities. So these are things that we're going to continue to try to do as we look for opportunities to work with different stakeholders to promote gender equality and women's empowerment in the digital age. And we really believe that we need to work together, because only by working together can we take this collective commitment that we all share. Everyone here online today is sharing a collective commitment to change, but it's in working together that we can translate that commitment into transformative action, where we can really achieve human rights and inclusion and equal rights for all. So we're really excited about doing that. We're looking forward to enhanced partnerships to achieve gender equality, the empowerment of women and girls in all of their diversity. So thank you again, Shraddha, for your question. And it's great to meet you and great to be here today.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing such wonderful initiatives and the way you believe that partnership and collaboration can solve this gender issue at any level. And now I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Otmar Hardikar, Consul General of Switzerland in Mumbai. We are delighted to have you, sir, on board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Saili Shantaram Gunjal. Welcome, Saili. Saili,
Good
can
evening,
you hear
sir.
us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Good evening,
Yes,
sir.
you can go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, sir. मी BSc second semester मध्ये शिकत होते तेव्हा ऑनलाईन लेक्चर सुरू झाले. तर तेव्हा खूप मोठी समस्या आली की माझ्याजवळ की लेक्चर कसे करावे, एक्झाम कशी द्यावी. माझी घरची परिस्थिती पण खूप नाजूक होती की घरचे मोबाईल देऊ शकता अशी पण परिस्थिती नव्हती, कारण की माझे वडील मोलमजुरी करता आणि घरचे पण माझी हेल्प करणार होते, पण ते पण काही करू शकले नाही. मग तर मला माझे शिक्षण चालू ठेवायचे होते. तर मग माझी फ्रेंड नेहा गुंजा, ती माझ्या घराशेजारी राहते. तर मी तिला विचारले की तुझ्या मोबाईलवर लेक्चर करू शकते का, कारण की ती आणि मी BSc सेकंड सेमिस्टरला होतो, म्हणून तो एक मोठा फायदा झाला मला. मग लेक्चर तर तिच्या मोबाईल करू शकली, पण एकच मोबाईलवर नंतर एक्झामचा प्रॉब्लेम आला. एक्झाम तर एकाच मोबाईलवर आम्ही दोघं देऊ शकलो नाही. मग मी कॉलेजमध्ये गेली. कॉलेजमध्ये DKI सर त्यांना सांगितली माझा प्रॉब्लेम, त्यांना सांगितला. मग ते बोलले की तू कॉलेजमध्ये येऊन माझ्या मोबाईलवर एक्झाम देऊ शकते. तर मग अशा प्रमाणे मी मोबाईल नसताना पण एक्झाम आणि लेक्चर अशा प्रमाणे चालू ठेवले. मग माझे करिअर यांच्या दोघांमुळे थांबले नाही. मी आता TYBSc ला ऍडमिशन घेऊ शकली. थँक्यू सर. मी तुम्हाला एक क्वेश्चन विचारू शकते का? तुमच्या देशातील मुलींच्या ऑनलाईन सुरक्षितते समस्या दूर करण्यासाठी तुमच्या देशाने केलेल्या प्रयत्नाबद्दल तुम्ही काही सांगू शकाल का?
Thank you, Neha. Mathli Didi, can you please? I'm so sorry, like you're joining from. Sorry. Thank you, Saili. Can you please? Yeah, like now I'll invite Mathli Didi to translate.
So what Saili was saying is that she was in the first year of her BSc degree, and when the lockdown was announced, and she doesn't have a phone, and it's because she comes from a household where there is no resources, they could not afford a phone either. So in order to continue her education, she sought the help of one of her friends, Neha, who allowed her to use her phone for online lectures. They're in the same year. So it was possible for them to attend the online lectures. The next problem she faced is when it was time to give exams, because there was just one phone between the two students. But when she requested her college professor, he allowed her to use his phone. And that is how she's able to continue with education. And she's now in third year of a BSc. She has a question for you, sir. And the question is, could you share about the efforts your country has made to address online safety for girls? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for these questions and translation. Thank you very much, Sayali, for sharing also your story. I really admire, and I have to say it's great to hear that despite some difficulties also during the pandemic, you, together with thanks or with the help of people around you, have managed to follow the classes and to attend school. I can really imagine it hasn't been a tough time, and yeah, therefore really looking things will improve and you will be back to school, or are you're probably already back to school, and some normality has returned to your classes and to the way that you attend school. Before I answer your question, let me quickly just say that I'm very happy to be here today with some of my colleagues of the Consular Corps, sharing some thoughts on this Girls' Day. I think it's a wonderful initiative. It's the third year that my consulate is able to participate. Thank you very much to UNICEF, Mrs. Chandrasekhar, for this initiative. Really something very, very important. Also, I have to say it's something dear to my heart. I have two children, two girls, and the issues is really important. I think in particular in India, I feel that we have to speak about these issues and also the gender gap, and really do everything or support, also be vocal about those points where things can still improve to get equal chances, equal opportunity for girls also. Now, when we come to safety of online safety, you can imagine the access to internet, access to social media is not so much of a problem in Switzerland. So in contrary, I would say children spend probably a little bit much also on internet, online and social media. And therefore also the safety of children, girls, young people in general, when using social media and the internet is an important topic in my country. Of course, children, girls need support so that they can use media creatively, safely, in a way that promotes their development. Now, how can we do this? And here I can be really brief. There are natural role models for children, which are the parents, teachers, and peers. And survey of children in Switzerland showed that parents are the most important mediators when it comes to media competence. Apart from this, schools are also central to learning with and about media. So these two groups, parents and schools, are the central actors in Switzerland to support children, and in particular girls, for online safety. There is a wide range of information online also, and also of courses for parents and people who work with children and young people. These information tools provide tips on how to use digital media safely. Parents can, like this, familiarize themselves with all the related problems at an early stage and get them also themselves familiar with digital media. So they can get practical advice on how, for instance, they can control their children's use of digital media. Then also, it's proven that it's important for parents to have a trusting relationship with children, so that the children approach the parents with questions and problems when they arise. So practical help then also, of course, is important for parents when they are confronted with cases of cybermobbing. Cybermobbing is a phenomenon that is unfortunately quite, it's quite happening quite often also in my country. So parents get there also some advice how to go ahead and how to react when their children are affected by this. Now in school, teachers, they receive practical support in the form of material, material for teaching students of different ages. And of course, here students have to learn how to behave in all this particular situation when a particular danger exists. For instance, they learn how to better protect data on their smartphones. What can they do to make sure that none of their data is accessed or used for illegal means? Then also how to use safely social media. And for instance, also practical question, what can happen to data once it's uploaded on social media? Can you, for instance, can you delete your account again? What happens to the data and so on? Then, of course, again, also in school, teachers will speak to students about cyber mobbing and give them also advice on these topics. So these, I would say, these are the practical exercise, with practical exercises, then also with role plays, students would learn in school the right way to deal with all the dangers that exist in cyberspace. So these are the main features. Of course, I don't want to go too much in details. Also, of course, the legal framework to protect children and all people using cyberspace also has been adapted over the years. Of course, also the law enforcement and so on. They are doing a lot in prevention work also together with students also and with individuals. Just to say a few of these elements that come in addition, of course, to the parents and to the school teachers that have an important role in this.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to invite Maithili Didi to translate this into Marathi, because our friends have not been understanding much of English. So it will be really nice. Maithili Didi, can you please translate what Mr. Otmar Hadigar sir shared and what Miss Amanda shared, and yeah, like, and our third consul from Japan, Mr. Yasukata Fukahari.
Sure. So I'll try my best to do justice to a lot of things that were presented. पण आपल्या सर्वांसाठी जपानचे जे सर आहेत त्यांनी असं सांगितलं, कारण मला वाटतं त्यांचा प्रश्न पण असाच होता की डिजिटल डिवाइड बद्दल. तर ते म्हणाले की जपानमध्ये तसं आपल्या भारतामध्ये जसं आहे तसं नाहीये तिथे असं एवढं सर्वांना ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी आहे, त्यांच्याकडे मे बी डिव्हाइसेस एक्सेट्रा असतील, पण जपान बाकीच्या देशांना जसं भारताला मदत करत आहे हे डिवाइड ॲड्रेस करण्यामागे. आणि त्यांनी खूप इंटरेस्टिंगली पण सांगितलं की त्यांचं जे बॅकग्राऊंड आहे शिक्षणाचं ते बायोलॉजीमध्ये त्यांनी केलेलं आहे. तर त्यांनी खूप अभ्यास केलेला आहे की एका पुरुषाचं आणि एका स्त्रीच्या बायोलॉजीमध्ये जरी फरक असला तरी इंटेलेक्च्युअल कपॅसिटीमध्ये काही फरक नाही आहे, इक्वल आहे. आणि म्हणून त्यांचं मेसेज पण तसाच आहे मुलींसाठी की तुम्हाला जे करायचं असेल ते तुम्ही करू शकता, म्हणून यू आर केपेबल ऑफ इट. त्यांनी अजून एक सांगितलं की बऱ्याच आपले जे परंपरा आहेत, त्यांनी जपानचं पण उदाहरण दिलं की बरेचसे असे परंपरा होते त्यांच्याकडे पण जिथे भेदभाव व्हायचा, पण जेव्हा आपण थोडंसं त्याचा प्रश्न त्याला विचारतो आणि त्याच्या पुढे जातो तर मग खरंच आपण इक्वालिटीकडे आपण वळतो. नंतर मिस अमॅन्डा ज्या कॅनडाच्या आहेत तर त्यांचं असं परत अगेन इंटरेस्टिंग असं होतं की त्यांच्याकडे जे पॉलिसीज किंवा प्रोग्राम्स बनतात त्यांनी एक जेंडर बेस्ड दृष्टिकोन, थोडंसं लूज ट्रान्सलेशन करते, पण त्यांचं कुठचाही प्रोग्राम करताना ते ह्या जेंडरच्या लेन्सनी हे कसं दिसेल ते बघतात. म्हणजे उदाहरण त्यांनी दिलं की कोविडमध्ये पुरुषांचं आणि एका मुलाचं आणि मुलीचं ॲज वर्सेस मुली आणि स्त्रीचं जे इम्पॅक्ट झालं तर ते वेगवेगळे इम्पॅक्ट झालेले आहेत. आणि म्हणून आपण जेव्हा अड्रेस करतो तर पण वेगवेगळं आपल्याला अड्रेस करण्याची गरज आहे. आणि ते सेम दृष्टिकोन असं बरेचसे त्यांच्या जे काही गव्हर्नमेंटचे पॉलिसीज असतील किंवा गव्हर्नमेंटचे प्रोग्राम्स असतील तिथे ते अप्लाय करतात. आणि भरपूर त्यांनी आता 4-5 असे मुद्दे मांडलेले की ऍक्टिव्हली ते काय करतात टू फॉर जेंडर इक्वालिटी. आणि स्वित्झर्लंडचे मिस्टर हार्टेगरने असं सांगितलेलं की मुलींचं सेफ्टी म्हणजे ऑनलाईन सेफ्टी मुलांसाठी दोघांसाठी इट इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट. आणि त्यांनी असं सांगितलं की पालक, शिक्षक आणि आपले मित्रमैत्रिणीचा जो ग्रुप असतो असे 3 त्यांनी आपल्याला सांगितलं की पालकांकडे माहिती प्रोव्हाइड करणं, शिक्षकांना शाळेमध्ये माहिती देणं आणि ऑफकोर्स मुलांसाठी. तर ह्या तिन्ही ग्रुप्सना भरपूर ऑनलाईन किंवा बाकीचे असे माहिती दिली जाते की सेफ्टी म्हणजे काय, आपला डेटा सुरक्षित ठेवण्यासाठी आपल्याला काय करायला पाहिजे. आणि ऑल्सो पालकांसाठी अशी सूचना असते की तुमच्या मुलांमध्ये विश्वासाचा एक विश्वास निर्माण पाहिजे सो दॅट मुलं काय असतील प्रॉब्लेम तर तुम्हाला येऊन सांगतील. सो आय थिंक मोरलेस आपण त्यांनी म्हणजे खूप थोडक्यामध्ये हे निरोप होते सर्वांचे. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Didi. It was so much of help. And yeah, so I don't know what to say because we've been hearing so much, so many great creative ideas that the consuls have been implementing in their countries, and we have so much to learn from them. And so yeah, like I would like to invite our next speaker. Actually, she's our guest, Miss Manisha Verma, IAS Principal Secretary, Skills Development and Employment and Entrepreneurship Department from the government of Maharashtra. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sandhya. Esteemed Consul Generals from participating countries, Mr. Eric Malmberg from Sweden, Mr. Bruce Emanuel of Belgium, Dr. Yasukata Fukuhara, Japan, Mr. Ottmar Heidegger from Switzerland, Ms. Amanda Strohan from Canada, Ms. Rajeshwari Chandrasekhar, Chief UNICEF Maharashtra, our young leaders and delegates to this conference, Sandhya, Shraddha, Zosha, Mahi, Suman, Sayali, Praveen, Prakash, who shared their inspiring stories, ladies and gentlemen who have joined online today. I extend my heartwarm
You have to
Ma'am, you're on mute. By mistake, you got on mute.
Am I
Yeah,
audible?
can you?
Yes, now
Yeah,
you are.
now you are.
Okay. Esteemed Consul Generals from participating countries, Mr. Eric Malmberg from Sweden, Mr. Bruce Emanuel of Belgium, Dr. Yasukata Fukuhara from Japan, Mr. Ottmar Heidegger from Switzerland, Ms. Amanda Strohan from Canada, Ms. Rajeshwari Chandrasekhar, Chief UNICEF Maharashtra, our young leaders and delegates to this conference, Sandhya, Shraddha, Zosha, Mahi, Suman, Sayali, Anil, Praveen, Prakash, who shared their inspiring stories, ladies and gentlemen who have joined online. I extend my warm greetings on the International Day of the Girl and feel privileged to be part of today's discussions on the theme Digital Generation, Our Generation. Young people in today's world are defined as digital generation, internet generation, PlayStation generation, also thumb generation in Japan. This young population has grown up with technology around them and have a natural fluency and ease in using gadgets. Technology today forms an integral part of our lives, be it a commute on app like Ola and Uber, or assuaging our hunger using apps like Swiggy or Zomato. And yet we know there is a huge digital divide for a large section of our population, including rural areas and marginalized sections, especially our women. India has the widest gender gap in internet usage within the Asia Pacific of 40.4%, while in Indonesia, this number stands at 11.1% and 2.3% for China. This digital divide is born out of a triple disadvantage for women in India. First is our rural-urban digital divide. In our country, the rural broadband penetration is only 29% against a national average of 51%. Hence, rural women are less likely to hold mobile phones. Second is our income-based digital divide between households. And lastly, intra-house discrimination, which prevents women from equitably accessing the available digital devices within the family. Even though India has internet affordability and one of the lowest smartphone prices, this does not unfortunately translate into greater access for women. During the pandemic and closure of schools, as our young friends shared, nearly 158 million girls were at the risk of dropping out and facing a huge learning gap. Similarly, digital illiteracy, limited social media knowledge, and costly accessibility to internet deterred our women entrepreneurs and women SHGs to move to online marketplaces. This digital divide based on gender also prevented many women from accessing social security benefits and booking their COVID-19 vaccination slots. But in my view, what is more important to appreciate is the implication of digital divide on exercising and enjoyment of political, socio-economic, and cultural rights of women. Mr. Fukuhara very eloquently today emphasized the need of giving primacy to fundamental human rights in his remarks. Women get excluded from processes of political empowerment and mobilization. Information asymmetry often leads to restricting freedom of choice and decision-making for women. As governance is becoming more digitized for delivery of services, a large section of women get excluded from services such as e-banking, e-commerce, telemedicine, and other social benefits. And yet, we have hope as both governments everywhere as well as civil society organizations are taking several measures to bridge this gap. I'll give you some examples. Mandeshi Foundation introduced a low-cost EMI program that allows women to purchase smartphones. Under the central government flagship program of Prime Minister Vocational Trainings, vocational courses have been introduced in the schools from grade 9 to 12. The recent National Education Policy Framework also emphasizes on mainstreaming vocational education. Our skill department itself has entered into a partnership recently with UN Women to train ITI girls in digital education under the FLIGHT program. It is a pleasant fact to share that as per the All India Survey on Higher Education, India has more women STEM graduates than the US, UK, or France. However, only 14% of our STEM women grads make a career in this sector. And therefore, there is a need to create enabling environment as well as issue the address of equal wages for women. Government is now taking multiple efforts to encourage women in field of science and technology, to encourage their career opportunities through programs like Kiran and schemes like Curie and Curie AI, whereby funding is being given to women universities for research and innovation, as well as creation of artificial intelligence related infrastructure and better exposure to women in digital education. Additionally, the Indo-US Fellowship for Women in STEM promotes Indian women to undertake international collaborative research in US for a certain period of time. Global initiatives today like Girl Who Code and Women in AI are becoming popular. In my previous Department of Tribal Development, we partnered with Girls Who Code for Adivasi girls with very positive outcomes. We also partnered with Eklavya Foundation to create science centers to ignite inquisitiveness and love for science and technology. We also have a batch of Super 50 to train boys and girls for IIT and medical exams. The Maharashtra State Innovation Society, which is a nodal agency under the Skill Development Department, which I head currently, has funded an incubator to support women startups in partnership with SNDT University in Mumbai. Our planning commission, Niti Aayog, has also created a women entrepreneurship platform. Today, as we gather here to understand the role of women as digital change makers and designers for learning, it gives me immense pleasure to tell you a few more success stories. Khushbu Jain, a co-founder of Impact Guru, winning startup at Maharashtra Startup Week, which my department had organized in 2019, has created a crowdfunding platform to empower individuals, NGOs, and social enterprises. Similarly, the platform Baby Chakra, founded by Ms. Naya Sagi, creates an e-platform for mothers. This exceptionally performing startup has partnered with popular brands like Johnson & Johnson, Sanofi, Cipla, and Abbott. Startups like Nykaa, Saral Designs, Fraternity are some very good examples of startups from the state of Maharashtra who inspire a league of next-gen female entrepreneurs. The deliberation today, I feel, friends, would not be fruitful unless we discuss today a way forward. To begin with, I would propose a baseline survey to understand the challenges faced by girls and women in Maharashtra to become digitally competent. UNICEF and other UN partners could probably help to conduct such a baseline survey. Adopting a life cycle approach where the girls will be supported throughout her academic and professional career to skill and upskill and become digitally competitive is very important. Rapid implementation of BharatNet program to provide rural broadband connectivity and providing free tablets or smartphones to women community leaders, female students, frontline women workers through government and CSR funds would also be helpful. We should also consider advocacy for targeted data allowance to women, just like universal food rations. Another important aspect for advocacy will be copyright frameworks for publicly funded research and efforts to strengthen the digital knowledge commons. We need to take effective measures to tackle technology-mediated violence against women. Here, sensitization of law enforcement authorities and engagement with parents and larger community is very important. Women need access to skilling, upskilling programs and knowledge of future-ready technologies to be self-reliant and empowered. Digital inclusion and specifically digital literacy is indeed crucial to our well-being and success, and to enjoy one's right to freedom of expression, socio-economic, cultural, and political rights. Today's CGs represent nations who are global leaders in innovation. I would urge you all for a sustained dialogue to ensure meaningful collaboration with us for sharing best practices and technology transfer to bridge the digital divide. I would also be keen to know more about the tools to measure gender equality in digital space developed by Canada that Ms. Amanda shared today in her remarks. I assure you that on behalf of Skills Development Department and as a representative of Government of Maharashtra, we are strongly committed to making our girls not only digitally literate, but truly empowered in every sphere. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. There is one more question that the young advocates would like to ask the panelists. Praveen, would you like to ask your question to Mr. Eric Mamberg?
Yes. I would like to ask a questions, Eric Malberg sirs. आंतरराष्ट्रीय सरांना असा माझा प्रश्न आहे की आंतरराष्ट्रीय मुलींच्या दिवशी तरुण मुलींना तुमचा संदेश काय आहे?
Sir, so the question is, what message would you like to give to the girls on the day of the National Day of the Girls?
Thank you very much for that question. What I would like to say is Oh, I hear myself. Okay, yeah. I would like to say that there can be no true sustainable development of a society, socially, but also economically, without it being based on the equal rights of both boys and girls. And that includes the equal right to have a digital access. And inclusive development is a win-win for all. So to all you young,
your
yes?
voice is is it just me?
Why is that? No, it's me as well. See here.
There is an echo coming from.
Is it better now?
Yes, I think it's better. The suggestion is that all microphones should be taken off except for the speaker.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So what I was saying, that I mean, the inclusive development is a win-win for all. And to all the girls, the world needs you, and never apologize for using the right that belong to you. And while using it, keep on inspiring others. That's what I like to message to you girls.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Mahi to ask her question.
आंतरराष्ट्रीय मुलींच्या दिवशी तरुण मुलींचा तुमचा संदेश काय आहे?
Sir,
yes, can the question be translated? And for who is the question?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't invite the. So this question is to Mr. Emmanuel, sir.
Yeah, to me. Thank you.
Yeah, and the question means the same. Like, what message would you like to give to the girls on this day?
Okay, thank you. Well, I think we must ask ourselves, how do we want to ensure that all girls are educated? And so girls should take their own future in their hands. So because they're fully equal and they are deserved to be treated equally and have a full social, economic, and political and cultural life because they're part of their community. So we also know, and that's something which girls might have to message more, tell more to the people. We know that in all countries where women are being empowered, that those countries become more prosperous. The evidence is without any doubt, when women work, the economies are doing better because women actually increase the productivity and the economic diversification and the income equality. So if women would themselves be convinced of that and actually tell it to the others, say, look, our whole country will be better and will be better off if you, let's say, treat us more equally, that would be a very strong way to actually enforce this message. So my message to every girl is that education is of course, for them the strongest tool, and so to have success, so they should embrace it and always seek knowledge, because you can dream fearlessly and you should actually believe in your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mathli Didi, can you please translate for both the answers?
Yes, thank you. So what Mr. Eric sir said, he said that समाजाची, I started in English, त्यांचं असं होतं की समाजाची प्रगती तेव्हाच होते जेव्हा मुली पण सहभागी होतात पूर्णपैकी, आणि त्यांचा असा मेसेज होता मुलींना की असंच काम करत राहा आणि प्रेरणा देत राहा सर्वांना. आणि दुसरं आपलं सरांचं असं होतं निरोप की तुमचं भविष्य, मुलींना तुमचं भविष्य तुमच्या हातात घ्या आणि शिक्षण हे एक टूल आहे ज्याच्याने तुम्ही पुढे तुम्ही जाऊ शकता. आणि त्यांनी असं पण म्हटलेलं आहे की तुमच्यामध्ये स्वतःमध्ये आत्मविश्वास राहून द्या की तुम्हाला जे करायचे ते तुम्ही कराल म्हणून. थँक्यू.
Thank you. Suman, would you like to ask your question to Mr. Yasukata?
Yes. Sir, what is your message to young girls on International Girl Child Day?
Thank you for the question. Actually, I thought that that was that question was already asked to me because I have documents in front of me, so that I have already answered, so that I don't take another time. But once again, there's nothing which women cannot do intellectually, which men can do. So be confident, be ambitious, goals. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Maitri Didi, can you please translate?
येस सर म्हणाले की त्यांनी ऑलरेडी मला वाटतं प्रश्नाचं उत्तर दिलेलं, पण त्यांनी परत असं म्हणालेले आहेत की असं इंटेलेक्च्युअली असं काही नाहीये जे मुली करू नाही शकत म्हणून. स्वतःमध्ये आत्मविश्वास असला पाहिजे आणि तुम्ही काही अचीव्ह करू शकाल. थँक्यू.
Yes. Saili, would you like to ask your question to Mr. Hardikar?
सर, आंतरराष्ट्रीय मुलींच्या दिवशी तरुण मुलींना तुमचा संदेश काय आहे?
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, so it was the same. It's the same question. What is your message to young girls on the occasion of the International Girls' Day?
Well, I guess it's a little bit similar to what some colleagues already mentioned. I think most important is, girls, believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, in your opportunities, and stick to your goals. Don't let yourself be limited because you are a girl. And in school, in your studies, and later on in life, there will be failures, there will be setbacks. However, just stand up and persist, and all these setbacks just make you stronger, more confident. And most important, also a little advice: create yourself a network of people that are important to you. Share your values, and also people that can support you on your own path.
Thank you, sir. Didi, can you translate, please?
येस. सो सर ऑल्सो ते पण म्हणतात की स्वतःमध्ये आत्मविश्वास असायला पाहिजे आणि तुमची स्वप्न तुम्ही साकारायला परत आत्मविश्वासाने पुढे जायला लागेल. आणि त्यांनी हा पण निरोप दिला की आयुष्यामध्ये काही अपयश पण आले तरी उठा आणि पुढे पाऊल टाका. आणि एक अजून एक ते म्हणाले की आपल्यासारखं आपल्या सपोर्टसाठी आपल्याला मदत करण्यासाठी एक नेटवर्क आपल्यासाठी बनवा, असं त्यांनी मेसेज दिलेला आहे सर्वांना.
Now I would like to invite Shraddha to ask this question to. What is your message to young girl on this International Girl Child Day?
Thank you. My message to you today is to stay the course. We're all here today because we believe in something, because we believe that investing in women and girls is the right thing to do and is the smart thing to do. And it's really wonderful to come together today and to see the groundswell of effort and of activism that's happening here and around this country. And I'm so inspired by this group of intelligent young change makers. And it's great on the International Day of the Girl Child to see the partnerships between Belgium, Japan, Sweden, Switzerland, and UNICEF for this kind of platform. But we need to stay the course after the International Day of the Girl Child, tomorrow and the next day and every day after that. And change might not happen quickly every time, but I want you to know that Canada's behind you, that we support the work that you're doing to make the digital world equally accessible to girls and boys. And I would like to tell each young woman who's with us today to remember that it is your leadership, it's your conviction, and it's your action that's going to make this change happen. Thank you. Merci. Dhanyavad.
Thank you. Didi, can you please translate?
येस सो अमॅन्डा ह्यांनी सांगितलंय सर्वांनाच आणि हा निरोप असा आहे की बदल कधी असं लवकर होत नाही, त्याला वेळ लागतो, पण प्रयत्न आपले करायला पाहिजेत आणि ते जिद्दीने आपल्याला सर्वांना करायला पाहिजे. आणि त्यांनी हे पण सांगितलं की डिजिटल डिवाइड जो आजचा विषय होता, तर डिजिटल आणि जेंडर डिवाइड जे आहे तर त्याच्या मागे कॅनडा आणि हे जे आपले पार्टनरशिप बनलेली आहे ती पार्टनरशिप आहेच. सो हे त्यांचा असा निरोप होता सर्वांसाठी.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask this same question. Like, I'm very curious to know what Manisha ma'am has to share. Like, what message would you like to give on this day?
So Sandhya, I would just like to reiterate the same thing that what my other friends and colleagues from across the globe have shared. And I would say in a Urdu couplet, तर उर्दूचे आपले एक बाल शायर होते, त्यांनी म्हटलं होता, खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से ये पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. त्याचा अर्थ असा आहे की तुम्ही एवढं प्रचंड तुमची आत्मविश्वास ठेवा की ईश्वर परमेश्वर स्वतः तुम्हाला विचारणार की सांग तुझं काय भाग्य देऊ. And for my friends from abroad, it is a couplet from the famous Urdu poet Iqbal, which says that you should be so filled with self-belief, self-courage, and self-confidence and self-esteem that even gods have to come down and ask you before writing your destiny that tell me what should I write for your destiny. So all the best to all of you, the young leaders here and all the girls and all the friends who joined online.
Thank you, ma'am. I feel like we all feel so empowered and just like how people are understanding us, and I'm so grateful. I would like to ask Rajeshwari ma'am, like, what is your message? Ma'am, can you hear us?
I think she's tied up. Yeah. Joshua, we can move on. Maybe Sandhya.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I think ma'am is not here. Maybe network issues. Now I request Ms. Swati Mohapatra, Communication Specialist, UNICEF, for the key takeaways and vote of thanks. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sandhya, for the wonderful evening and the discussion we had. We had stories of hope, we had stories of positivity, and the best thing that we heard from the young change makers and all our consul generals and Manisha ma'am is the way forward. How to bridge the digital divide, how to really look forward and take steps so that all the girls can simply say that the digital technology can be in their hands and they can simply scale the heights. There are many, many solutions that everyone talked about. And I'm really happy that today we met to have this discourse, because after the pandemic, the whole digital technology became our only way of communication for many, many months. With that, I really take this opportunity to thank you, Sandhya, for moderating this wonderful session. I really thank Rajeshwari, Manisha ma'am for talking so beautifully and giving us such wonderful ideas which we can take forward in terms of implementation as well. I also thank Mr. Manbag, Mr. Emmanuel, and also Mr. Fukahari, Mr. Hariga, and Ms. Amanda as well for their wonderful views. We really look forward to these collaborations and interactions with our young advocates as well, and we look forward to such enriching discussions in the future. So thank you Naveen ji for really supporting us with the technology. I can't thank enough my colleagues, Alpa, Reshma, Violet from 9is Mine, everyone who made this whole event a success, this online discussion. I would like to thank Irene, Rini, Sarita, everybody who's been part of it. There are a lot of people who have really worked at the back end to really make this online discussion a great success. So thank you. Good night, all of you. Have a wonderful International Girl Child Day. And of course, every day is our day. So have fun. And particularly to the young advocates who spoke so beautifully and spoke such wonderful stories of hope. It is really wonderful listening to all of you and a step forward for all of us. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you now for the conclusion.
Thank you. Wow, what a conference. I must say each one of us has created a huge impact by sharing our stories, experiences, and wonderful ideas. Today, we heard some innovative solutions like how like consul generals of different countries are